Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Grunge Bible Podcast, episode 71, coming to you across the airwaves. It's Chris Salona here, along with Ethan Shalloway. Ethan, what's going on, my man? How are we doing?
It's going well, Chris. It is a Tuesday, the terrible Tuesday that we're recording.
Fuck Tuesdays.
Yeah, fuck Tuesday. No, it's, like there's a whirlwind, a lot of traffic, as they say. Can't move. So, no better time to record a podcast than in the midst of all of this. So, but no, it's all good. Energy levels are doing all right. We're doing good. My brother flies in tomorrow. I actually got a nice string of 5 days coming up. That should be a lot of fun. So this is the last thing on my checklist. So a quick 20-minute episode to finish off the Audioslave that we were talking about on Friday for the Friday Beers episode. And I think we will be good. We'll all be good. How about you, Chris? How are you doing?
I'm seemingly doing better than you are. I didn't feel like I was doing too hot. But then this afternoon, everything kind of fell back into place a little bit. I got a good lift in, and now I get to talk about Audioslave with you, Ethan, and this is great. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good one. So, if this is your first time tuning in and listening, you are gonna get one of the. What took you so long? First off, what took you so long?
Yeah, what gives?
But second off, go back and listen to the last episode. We kind of shoot the shit for 70 minutes, a little bit over an hour, and we just have some fun. But we kind of gave a synopsis of what we're going to do the next few episodes. Probably the month of August, we are going to be kind of giving quick hitters, talking about bands for about 20 minutes. We did touch on Audioslave last time, but we're coming back because we said we were going to do that. If you listen to the episode, you understand a little bit more.
Yeah, we got to finish the job.
Yeah, so. But thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, we are really happy that you're here. Hopefully you're subscribed.
Yeah. And furthermore,
and then if you want to go one step further, I think Chris has.
Yeah, hopefully you're subscribed. But furthermore, if subscribing's not enough for you, which I know, that doesn't do it for some people, we do have another higher level. You could be taken higher and support us over on Patreon. And there's a number of individuals who have supported us so far. I think the standing count currently, there are 48 people supporting us on Patreon at one of the three tiers. We have a $2 tier, a $5 tier, and a $10 tier. And the individuals in the $10 tier are the catalysts for this show. It would not happen without them. And we like to thank them every single week by name. So the names that I would like to read off to show our wealth of gratitude for this week are Darian Riddle, Alex Long, Rachel Corning, Fuck Soup, Captain Hightop, Black Hole Sean, Doug Endy, Jade Mercado, Chris LSMS, Lauren Irene, Sue, Nikki Six, Marianne, Release, Millie, Alexis Shannon, Kayla Jean, Sunny Mashburn, our number one fan from Australia, Wayne Staley, What the Fuck's Up Denny's, Jamie Lynn, Carlene Salona, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Fresh Tendinitis, Kara K, The Blue Owl, Brother Nature, Kitty Cooper, I Hate Your Mom, Shoe the Shoeless, and Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce. Quick editorial note, the individual who has proclaimed themselves as Eddie Vedder has gotten me through my second divorce wants the world to know that they have not been divorced yet. So I guess they join me amongst the legion of liars that exist in this sphere.
That's all right. Like your tattoo and the story that goes with Porch, there's a fake story that goes with that name, that being the second divorce. So it's all good. Yeah,
there's a lot of different meanings to a lot of different things.
Sometimes you tell a little lie to make a story a little more interesting. So
yeah, just no for the problem. Hell of it.
Just for the hell Absolutely. Of it. Yeah. Well, it is amazing having those names roll out each week. And, it's funny because we've actually, throughout the weeks, we've lost a lot of patrons. But we have people that take their place. So I don't even care. There's always somebody lined up. I don't even care. And I understand. People support for a year.
For a period of time. And then
their duty. Their time is done, and then somebody steps in and takes their place, and I love that.
Exactly. You're only ever anywhere for a moment in time, so we appreciate the moments in time that people choose to spend with us. And if you're choosing to do that, we do have an Audioslave episode queued up for you today. Now, Ethan, on episode 70 last week, we did get into Audioslave a little bit, not really getting into the specifics or any of the music, but I know one of the things that we spoke about was just kind of how these guys came together, certainly having been musicians in very popular bands for a number of years, coming from the Rage Against the Machine contingent, and obviously Chris Cornell coming from his contingent. And just the magic that happened there. And we were kind of talking about how Audioslave, I think for a lot of people our age, was kind of their path into certain music. I think we should pick it right back up. What do you think was it about, these guys coming from those two bands? Obviously quite different, Rage Against the Machine and Soundgarden.
What do I think just in general about having two different bands come together
why do you think that worked?
I think it worked because I think they both were looking for, I think Chris was looking for something different, and I think that the guys in Rage were also looking for a different sound, and I think that's why they made it a point to not, they never played cover songs of either band really. They made it a point not to do that. So I think it came together well because they both were really open to a different sound. And I mean, it's on record that they recorded like 21 songs in 19 days. So the chemistry was instantly there.
Absolutely.
And I think that is just because of both their experiences. I think that each band had all the members had a lot of similar influences throughout the years. And I don't know. I think that it was just a perfect timing that they both were looking for. It was just like a perfect puzzle piece match.
Yeah, and, I agree. And I think part of the reason I think it may have worked so well is that, the individuals, Tom Morello, Brad Wilk, Tim Comerford, they were coming from Rage, which had fallen apart. And same thing with Chris Cornell and Soundgarden, they had ceased to be for a couple of years prior to the formation of Audioslave. And I think, when a band breaks up like that, you kind of have, the aftermath of that, and then you have a chance to maybe get together with different people and kind of realize that there's a different way. And I think anytime a band breaks up, you probably get a little bit more of a perspective, as opposed to, if the bands were still together at that point, Audioslave were to be a side project at the time. It was kind of at a point in time where the previous bands, at least for that time, had run their course, and they were really in a good position to give it their full attention and give it their full effort. And I mean, the synergy that they seemingly had from day one, in those days when they got together, really, really shows that I think that was evident. I think they were able to approach it, from a fresh point of view. And all of the members have said at various points that the songwriting process and the collaboration was unparalleled when compared to the processes that they undertook previously in Rage and Soundgarden, respectively. So it was just kind of one of those things that I think it only can happen when you have seasoned musicians, not only seasoned performers and seasoned players and good singers, but, people that had had a number of studio albums behind them collectively in a bunch of different outfits. I think it was just the culmination of veteran musicians getting together.
Yeah, and I think we did talk about it briefly, but this was a tough time for Chris.
Yeah,
and I think that him coming from that period of his life, and this coming from his first solo album, he was searching for something. And then, like I said, the members of Tim and Brad and Tom, they were also searching. They were very accepting, and it was just like they found Chris when he was looking, and it just kind of worked out. And I think that it was kind of a divine intersection of talents. There was rumor in the beginning. There was rumors that Lane Staley was going to be joining.
I did remember reading about this, and Tom retroactively shot that down on a Twitter exchange in like 2016. I remember that long-standing rumor that there was interest in Lane Staley, coming on to sing in Audioslave, but the logistics of that obviously would not have worked. I don't think Lane had sung on a track since 1999 or so. But it's all, it's certainly interesting to think about, if there had been some truth to that, and how different the band would have sounded.
Yeah.
But,
even if just a rumor, it's kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like when you hear a lot about movies who auditioned for the parts. And then you hear that,
or like who was rumored to be wanted by the producer or by the writer or whatever.
There was one big one. I can't remember. It was like Chris Farley was really close in playing a big role of like Jim Carrey or something. Like it was one of his parts, and it was something of the sort where it was like a big, but like you couldn't see it any other way.
Exactly. It's the same thing because there's been so many times where an iconic role in an iconic film, such and such an actor had turned it down, and then that gave way for this person to come into the forefront. And it's kind of one of those things that once you see it as it happened to be, you couldn't imagine it being any other way. And I feel that way about Audioslave. I couldn't imagine any other singer being up there except Chris Cornell. Now that we have those 3 albums,
and I think we get ourselves in trouble too a lot of times with like cover songs, because that's what you do. You say I can't see it any other way, or like when or if you have like multiple people in movies, you have like multiple iterations of the Spider-Man, and you have 3 different actors playing, so then you got to pick. But same thing, like cover songs, people get in those arguments all the time.
Yeah, and it's interesting with Audioslave. So as I guess band timelines go, they were together for a healthy period of time, but in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that long. The formation was in 2001. The self-titled album came out in 2002. Out of Exile came out in May of 2005, and then Revelations came out in September of 2006, and the band had broken up by late spring of 2007. So really, within a span of a few years, they were able to put out 3 records that, in my opinion, really, really stood the test of time to this point. The self-titled album will be turning 20 years old later this year, which is kind of hard to believe, I think, for people a little bit older than us, and people, even that we know that were around our age, and that was kind of their record. And as we spoke about last week, the passage of time, but I mean, 3 really, really fantastic records. And I do think that the self-titled album, certainly their high watermark, in my opinion, not according to Pitchfork, as we said last week. Pitchfork, for some reason or another, gave them a 1.7 or a 1.9 rating out of 10 stars. So I take the opportunity now to say, as I usually do, fuck Pitchfork, because
Did you read the review, Chris?
I did. It was
unreal.
It was absolutely unreal. And I don't want to give them the credence of speaking the words on the podcast. I don't have it pulled up either, but I
have it pulled up, and I won't even do.
They went in. They
really did.
I mean, between the name of the band, the lyrics, they crushed Chris's lyrics. They just crushed the entire outfit, and I don't see it, and maybe it's because I'm giving my millennial opinion after the fact.
Yeah.
Or I have the rose-colored glasses on, maybe. But, I mean, this record, when you think about it, I know I've said this before on a previous podcast, maybe a little segue that we had gone on, but, I mean, for like a triplet of songs, a trio of songs to lead off an album, I mean, you go to Coach Eyes, Show Me How to Live, and Gasoline. I mean, for your introduction to the world as, your debut album, and when you're a band that's under the microscope because of where the members are coming from, I always think about, I guess at this point, if somebody were to have picked up their CD of this and, put it into their car, the first thing that you hear is Coach Eyes. I mean, you hear Brad Wilkes drumming, and then you hear Tom Morello and Tim kick in, and just that wall of sound that hits you, and then Chris's lyrics, or rather his voice, just overwhelming you right from the get-go. And I think for most of Audioslave's catalog, the vocal parts were so ambitious on Chris's part, and they were just so high-flying, and they fit so well into all of the songs, and at just the right points, his voice kind of like flies over the music within the songs. And I mean, I think that's absolutely everywhere on this first album. I think especially in Coach Eyes, Set It Off is another one that pops out for me. Light My Way, which was the first song that the band had written when they got together to cut that first album. And I mean, it's just hit after hit after hit after hit, and it's just It's such a good album. What are your thoughts on this self-titled album?
Yeah, it's definitely the album that I've taken the most time listening to. I think it went triple platinum and sold like stupid, crazy amounts of.
Yeah.
So it definitely has like the most airplay for me. And like you said, an extreme set list of songs. Yeah, I think I listened to it probably the most in the car. I feel like Audioslave actually, or like, it's definitely a really good car album for me.
Yeah.
I didn't get to listen to their the third, like the second and third album as much. So I felt like I found myself going back to this one retroactively a lot.
Yeah, I feel the same way because I certainly don't feel as though I've had my fill of the first album, and it's just so good. And,
that too, yeah.
And I just like one of those things that, I mean, a lot of people say this with Pearl Jam. It's like, 10 in verses. Why would I listen to anything else? and I kind of feel that way about Audioslave here with that self-titled album. And I mean, just the ability that they had, and the fact that they, in my opinion at least, they got it so right from the get-go, and they created a sound that wasn't like, Soundgarden Part 2 or Rage Part 2. It was Audioslave Part 1. And I think to kind of carve out your own unique area where you come from, two incredibly popular bands from, one of the greatest decades in music, I think that's such an accomplishment.
Right. So think about like, what if they didn't have the second and third album, Because we have other super groups. It was like a
Mad Season situation, or like a Temple of the Dog situation.
Temple of the Dog, yeah. They both put out the first one album that we all love. Yeah. And like they could have easily put out a second and third, and maybe we could have had the same conversations, and the band could have, been together for those bands, like, have 5 years together. But it's interesting to because we have a 3-album sample size. How we view them and how they're viewed and compared to the other super groups that we listen to.
Right. And I think if we're kind of comparing and contrasting, these bands that are from a couple of different camps here, I think another thing that sets Audioslave apart is the fact that they actually toured extensively.
Yep.
Mad Season and Temple of the Dog each at the time had only played a handful of shows. I know Temple did that engagement in the fall and winter of 2016, where they played for I think it would have been the 25th anniversary of that album. But that was the thing. I mean, Audioslave rather, they went out and they toured these records and they played these songs. And as you said in the intro, they made a point at the beginning, and I believe on that first tour, to only play their songs and to not play Soundgarden covers or Rage covers, because they didn't want to kind of piggyback off of those legacies that they had developed with their old bands, and kind of an interesting development that I think by the Out of Exile tour that they did, they had begun to play certain songs, and I remember the first time I heard Chris Cornell singing Killing in the Name of, or seeing Tom Morello play guitar on Spoon Man. It's kind of really interesting, but I love the fact that they kind of took the time to establish themselves not only as a band that could write good songs, but as a live outfit that could perform admirably and perform well. I think that was a really cool thing that they did. But to kind of get back to your question, I don't know what we would think. I think this album would still stand as tall as it does, just like the Temple and the Mad Season albums do, not having been toured and not having had follow-ups. I think for what it is, if you evaluate it for what it is and how it sounds, I think regardless, if Audioslave had broken up in 2003, I think we would still be listening to it and we would still hold it in as high of regard as we do.
Yeah, and it probably, obviously, we weren't there when it was released, so we don't know how the media or how everybody was kind of like,
right,
how it burst onto the scene. But let's see, Soundgarden's last album was released Down on the Upside on 96, right? So
right.
People were probably starved for some. I mean, I guess he had Chris's solo, but that's
he had gone lighter solo, but it was obviously different. Yeah,
right. So people were probably starved of this type of music from Chris, which would be, I mean, such a treat. Think about if you're a huge Soundgarden fan, and then I mean, I guess he did do a solo album, but to come back like fully plugged in and with Rage,
Right.
that would be really exciting. So it's not surprising to me that that first album did really, really well.
Yeah,
and it's all their best ideas, you would imagine.
Right. Exactly. And it's like one of those things, if you're a Soundgarden fan in 2000 or 2001, your first wish would be for Soundgarden to get back together. And I guess your second wish would be something like Chris Cornell teaming up with these musicians. Same thing if you're a Rage fan in 01 or 02 and your first wish would be for, Rage to get back together and the guys to get back together with Zach. Your second wish, Chris Cornell to essentially join the guys, the musical part of Rage Against the Machine. That's a hell of a consolation prize, and it's one that I think satisfied a lot of people, and even as they went on into Out of Exile and Revelations, and as we spoke about, those are two records that I haven't spent as much time with as I have the self-titled album, but from each of these records there's still I think of Doesn't Remind Me off of Out of Exile as one of Audioslave's hallmark songs for sure. Dandelion's another one that I really appreciate. Same thing with The Curse. Yeah, and Be Yourself. Exactly. There's just so many good songs, and even from Revelations. You have the title track, which is just such a big song. And The Shape of Things to Come, another one. And then additionally, something that stands out for me is the second to last track, Nothing Left to Say But Goodbye. And I think they came on the scene with such a bang, in November of 2002. Making their debut on Letterman on the marquee outside. Mm-hmm. And things just kind of exploded for them. But I think it's got to be such a difficult thing. I know we've spoken about this with other bands, but to be able to burst onto the scene, in this band, I guess for those intents and purposes, with such a good record and, such a powerful record, and to be able to go back into the studio and write in such a way that, you kind of stand up to what you did before, with my relatively, not as in-depth knowledge of the second and third albums as I do have the first. I think they definitely did that. And it was just kind of a culmination of, like I said, you have these veteran musicians and veteran writers getting together and just putting, they're professionals. This is what they do. And this is the culmination of 25 years worth of work. By the time Revelations comes out in 06, Chris Cornell had been playing in bands for 20 years, and much of the same about the former Rage guys. It's just, this is their job, like you said, and there's a reason why they continue. They continued for the rest of their lives, and the Rage guys continue to be professionals and to be the best at what they do.
So I ask you.
You ask me.
Is the sum greater than the parts? So you got Soundgarden, Rage Against the Machine, and Audioslave, and we have to choose. We have to order them for the people.
Oh my God!
How did they stack up against the original? It's so good. It's so good by itself. If that's all we had, we'd love it. But you do have Rage Against the Machine. Yeah, they're all their discography and their incredible stage performances, and then you also have Soundgarden, which we know we love. So, it's tough because we feel like it feels like we have to say one thing. But I'll lead it off and say that.
Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say while I formulate these thoughts.
Yeah. I'll lead off and say I love Audioslave, but I think that I like Soundgarden and Rage better by themselves, separate. Yeah. I think that they, like I said, they're really good live. Really good for what it is. But obviously, I really love Soundgarden, but I really do enjoy Rage Against the Machine. That was one of the bands that I torrented like the discography, like we were talking about last week. Mm-hmm. Or I didn't do it, but my brother or somebody did, and I got all their stuff, like random soundboards and stuff, and I really enjoyed listening to Zach and obviously all the Morello solos and stuff. And
absolutely,
so I was really into Rage for a little bit, and I thought that was the only thing that you could listen to when you were lifting in high school, when you were working on your, when you're.
You're not wrong.
No, that was like literally the only thing, and then. Chris, we have a very intimate relationship with the Rage Against the Machine for our Saturday workouts in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we do. Killing in the Name of.
Because Killing in the Name of was one of Chip's favorite songs to play at the end of our kettlebell mile, and it was nothing better than just yelling, "Fuck you." and I won't do what you tell me.
Absolutely. And oh my God, what? Real quick, that it was a mile's worth of sprints, and instead of resting, you did kettlebell exercises, right?
Yeah. Yes, you did. You would do. I guess it was. How long was the field? It was a shorter field.
I think it was whatever the math was. It was. We did. Were they 80-yard sprints or 160 yards? It was 80 yards down and back, or 40 down and back.
It has to be 80, or it would take forever, right?
I think it was like 10 160s.
Basically, almost like 100 there, 100 back.
Yeah, more or less.
Because it was like 23. It was like 23. I remember like running it in 23 seconds. You had to, or like 20.
I'm
like that
sure,
was, and then you had
45
sure
80
seconds
down and back, and then you had You
had 45 seconds to do your exercises, and then however fast you did it, you had that time to rest afterwards. Then you get 15 or 20 seconds rest.
Yeah, I remember being like scared shitless as a little freshman coming to this first death workout because all of the upperclassmen had told me. And I get there, and I think our Coach Chip, he had the iPad, and Killing in the Name of was playing,
and he was just spitting
I'll never forget that,
just spouting out how to become a champion choices make a champion life, yelling at us as we're just running. God. And it was like 6:30 in the morning,
Yeah, nobody wanted to be up at that time, certainly. I mean, Rage definitely made it easier, so I'm thankful for that.
I'll say it, Chris. That was that's some of the best memories I have, though.
Oh, I love like
so
workouts
glad that
like
we did that,
and I love trials and challenges like that kind of put you in that tough spot physically and mentally. I mean, I do it to myself. I just did it to myself yesterday. I'm going to do it to myself tomorrow.
And do you remember? Do you remember afterwards? We would do it every Friday at the end of the week.
We'd lay down on the ground with our eyes closed,
and then we'd go in and we'd lay on the ground, and Chip would pick a word and be like, today's word is champion, and then he would like define it his own way. And then the next,
I'll never forget
perseverance, and he would talk about it. I remember just laying there and exhausted and fall asleep on them or something.
Yeah, I mean, for every time you did, those were inspiring times.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
those
100%.
super cool. Yeah, I won't forget those.
Shout out to Chip Brundage, because
shout out to Chip Brundage. Champion choices make champion life.
Champion choices make a champion life. I just sent him a Jav Project shirt, and I wrote that in the letter. Because
I'll never forget that. I still have the note cards he used to write us before the conference championships. I still have mine.
Yeah.
I still have mine in the box.
He's a good man.
He is a good man.
He's a good man.
I love
Crazy,
that man.
but good.
Yeah.
So that was one of my. I love me some Rage when you're working out. But so, what do you think? Are we taking?
Okay, so I have an analogy that I'll explain it. It's like if you're a sports fan, and your sports league has an all-star game, right? And it's the best talent, and they're all put together, and it's just this really, really awesome spectacle. I feel like Rage, or rather, I feel Audioslave is akin to like an all-star team, where you have these guys who are, they're professionals, they're at the top of their game, they're well-respected, they're all-stars. And that's really cool. But for me, it's got to be the original bands from which they came, because it's like, you had Soundgarden, where they had that, slow, sludgy, almost messy, sloppy thing going on with the way that they, ran their rhythm section. And, Chris had a lot of latitude in those songs, and they improvised quite a bit. And then you had Rage Against the Machine with Zach, and obviously being incredibly politically charged, and the band kind of using their shows and their songs certainly as a platform for, what mattered to them. And then Audioslave, I think, was, for me, it's just kind of like an all-star display of the ability that they had. Their lyrics not particularly political at all, and I think that was something that the Rage guys had wanted to get away from for a time. And Chris had never or hadn't done a terribly much of that with Soundgarden. So I think I'm definitely preferential to the two bands from which they came. But it's like picking. It's hard to pick, though. It's not to say that I don't like Audioslave. Obviously, I love them. I love that first record. But it's just kind of one of those things that I'm very happy that we had it.
Yeah, people love, in sports, people love the loyalty. They love being drafted and winning championships with the team that you got drafted with. Yeah. So I'm thinking about the people that stayed, like Steph Curry. People love him in that city.
It's like the Soundgarden. If you didn't love me at my ultra mega okay, you don't deserve me at my super unknown.
Of course.
So I think that's how it goes for me. But I mean, it's such a fantastic band, and they had broken up in 2007, and over the years since then, until the end of Chris's life, they had remarked at different points of how they kind of learned a lot from those days, and maybe kind of regretted how different people had handled themselves. And they played a show in January of 2017, and afterwards, they had all remarked that a reunion, or maybe scheduling some concerts and some shows was something that they wanted to do, but it was just kind of a matter of having the availability to do it. And obviously that never ended up happening because Chris passed away later that year. But I think it's one of those things that I think we kind of said in jest last week, that the bands always come back, and I think that would have been the case for Audioslave. I'm sure, I don't know if we would have ever gotten a new album, but I'm sure they would have played a couple of shows here and there, maybe done a tour. Chris had said after that 2017 one-off show that he was like, we actually got to the point where we were going to start to pick dates, but it just never ended up happening, as is the case in the industry. But right. It's one of those things, only together for a handful of years, and the early to mid 2000s, which was kind of a weird time musically, obviously. But I mean, they put out product that people still listen to and people are still inspired by today.
Yeah, and we can thank them for that.
Yeah.
We can listen to them. Yeah, man, it's so good. It's been fun. It's been fun going back and listening to these albums and in preparation, and kind of talking about them with you these last 2 episodes. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to have finished what we started on episode 70. We had the impromptu foray into the Audioslave talk last week, and we finished the damn job today, because that's what we do, and we don't miss.
No, we don't miss. That's why we're coming to you. We're coming to you in the perils of the summer, and we're making it happen.
This is the first episode of August, by the way. This drops August 1st.
That's
Who
right.
knows
First
where the
day.
time goes, man? It's fucking me up. It's crazy.
It is crazy. But without further ado, we're going to get into songs of the week, because
I think so.
Naturally, I'm going to go ahead and pick an audio. Almost said Soundgarden, an Audioslave song.
I've been doing that the whole episode. I called Audioslave Rage like 4 times. So
I think I'm going to go with Set It Off for my song. I'm going to put Set It Off onto the list. I feel like that's what they, that's how they kind of came onto the scene, the music scene. They set it off, and it's just one of those. It's one of the ones that I kind of click on every time I go and need a little bite from them.
Yeah.
Just because I don't go towards the, if I don't want to be commercial and pick something that you really hear on the radio, I'll go Set It Off or something.
Okay, I like that. So I will also pick an Audioslave song, and I have to go with "Light My Way." It is such a powerful song for me. I think Tom's guitar intro at the beginning is just so iconic. The chorus is just so big and heavy when you have, Brad and Tom just hammering away, and, Chris hits that, big chorus, "Won't You Light My Way," and he hits those high notes. And I think the fact that it was the first song that they wrote together as a band just kind of adds to that legend. And I just love that song. So that's got to be my pick of the entirety of Audioslave's catalog. I think it's got to be "Light My Way." So it'll be my song of the week this week.
Perfect. Two great songs to top it off.
Yeah, from a great band. So if you're still with us, we thank you for taking the time to check us out today. Maybe we wet your whistle last week with some Audioslave, and we brought it home today. Thank you so much. If you'd like to support us, all the ways to do that: reviews, merch, following, Patreon, etc. You have all of those options. Additionally, we'd like to thank our producer, Drew McFadden, for taking care of business, as he always does. And we're very thankful for his continued efforts, 71 episodes in. So, Ethan, I think that'll just about do it for episode 71 of the Grunge Bible Podcast.
Yeah, that's it for us. Again, thank you all for listening. Continue doing that, because then we know that it's worth recording. So
absolutely.
Tune in next week. We're going to have a different band, and we're going to give our quick synopsis on it. We're actually putting it up to the Patreons to choose what bands we're doing.
So if you're a patron, be heard. We're taking suggestions.
Please go on and vote and put your 2 cents in. And if you'd like to have a say, go to our Patreon and become, give us $2, $5, $10, whatever.
Yeah.
Yada, yada. You know what to do. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Thank you again. We love you all.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Be good.
Exactly right.
I needed the extra 4 fluid ounces. The 1 pint.
Amen to that.
So, you ready?
Yep. Episode 71.
70. Dude,
Audioslave.
that's like, it's like a lot of episodes, dude. Oh, fuck. What's my...
It really is. I mean, we're only 33 episodes away from 2 years.
Yeah, dude.
You know,
we're getting close. What the
like
fuck's
almost,
my song of the week gonna be? Fuck.
Just pick an Audioslave song.
No, fuck Audioslave.
Oh shit! I don't even have my phone to look at that last. That's the worst part about this, huh?
Yeah, dude. You feel naked. All right, I figured it out.